But I had a meeting at the U.S. Attorney's Office downtown at 9 o'clock, and so I was in our what we call headquarters city office getting ready for that meeting, and there are TVs around the office and they have the news channels on, and it was a little before 8, I remember, and the first plane hit the World Trade Center. And so obviously everyone is glued to the TV, and then I think it was about 15 minutes later, the next plane hit the towers. And so while I first thought maybe the first one was just a tragic accident, obviously after the second one hit, all of us there realized that was no accident.
Rumors started happening right around the announcements, and Mr. Antos instructed us that we could turn on our TVs. We had the old Magnavox TVs on the wall in our classrooms, and I remember turning it on, and as blurry as the TV was back then, all you saw was bellowing smoke.
Us kids, we didn't know what was going on, so we were just talking and kind of just living our lives like a normal third grader would. And we had a first-year teacher at the time, and she's bawling her eyes out.
We were watching live when the second plane hit the tower, and you just didn't know what to say as a parent, as a teacher, as a coach. It was terrifying, actually.
My boys were at school at St. Mike's, and I just happened to have the television on before I was going up to my office. I worked for British Petroleum at the time, and was preparing for their board of directors meeting, which was scheduled to be held in New York a few days later that week. Just seeing it on television, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and then just the sheer fright and terror, not even thinking about my job and where I was headed later that week, but just for my family, as I'm sure everyone was.
We went home and we watched our president address the nation, and it was all real. It was all kind of like right in front of you, and when you think that world problems are that far away from you.
And so that night, actually, we got the order. I mean, it was basically all hands on deck in the FBI, the entire FBI. And that's all we did for the next several months.
Got to New York, and I will tell you, prior, New York, as everyone knows, crazy, busy place. People screaming, yelling, horns honking everywhere. You gotta watch when you get off the sidewalk or head into the street, somebody will run you over. That day, there was silence, this eerie silence.
Middle of the day, our principal comes on the intercom and says, we're going to go outside and have a moment of silence because there's been an attack. And so I was given in charge of holding the flag and putting my hand over my heart, and I still have the yearbook photo of me doing that.
I remember in Coach Nye's office, I believe we talked about the game for about 30 seconds, and as a staff, we probably talked about the world for a good half hour in his office, just kind of like trying to figure out what was going on as adults. And it was a surreal moment for us as friends and as coaches together. And I remember like it was yesterday, a day that we all wished never happened, of course.
I'll never forget, because there was a basket, and I still to this day have the rosary that I received that day from one of the battalion chiefs and he came out of nowhere. I happened to be standing there just talking to a friend, co-worker, and he was this big burly guy, and he put his arm around me and he said, "Everything's gonna be okay." And I looked at him and said, "How can you even say that everything was gonna be okay?" And he said, "It will be."
The FBI underwent a dramatic change as a result of 9/11. We were generally known as a crime-fighting organization. And so from that time forward, we refocused our efforts into more of a focus on intelligence gathering, and not surprisingly, counterterrorism became our number one goal.
Take my classes and my football team out to our Australian Pine, which is located right by Tom Mitchell Field. And that was planted as a school in 2002 in memory of the victims lost on 9/11. I think a lot of kids and adults walk by that tree and not know what it signifies, and I feel that we can play a small role in remembering all those who senselessly lost their lives that day, and by just showing that Brother Rice honors these people every year, and being able to teach about it and talk about it is still hard, but it's also important at the same time.
Just the profound impact it's had on my generation as well, growing up, and kind of being that one of the few last generations, knowing what it felt like for things to be normal, have a sense of normality before the world turned upside down.
To this day has been the most traumatic, the most emotionally gut-wrenching experience that I've ever had in just making that decision to go. But it was also the best decision, because the people of New York City were so grateful that we came and to be with them and to share in their grief in that moment.
I'm proud to hang my flag every day. I'm a proud American. I try and teach my children and my students and my players the same thing.